Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk in the glorious capital of the universe, Scotland. I hope everybody is doing well. I know, I always say that. Hope everyone's doing well and has had a good week. Wednesday night show for Songwriting Simplified was fantastic. We had some of the best questions we have ever had on Songwriting Simplified. It was superb. And we actually had a really good turnout as well. And right now we've got 18 people in here, which is very, very cool. And 8 people have hit that like button. So it would be really nice if we could even that out a wee bit. And try and get viewers for likes nice and even. That would be very, very cool. So I hope everyone has had a good rest of their week. For those of you that were here on Wednesday, hope you've had a good rest of your week. Those of you that this is the only thing you get to see, welcome. Hope you're doing well. All right, so we do have a couple of questions already, which is cool. But let's go see who's here, because I think that's always a good thing to do. We got Rich Cresswell from Studio One Toots. We got Mike Johnson from Music to Motion. We've got Billy Morgan. We've got Paul Morgan, although Billy and Paul are not related. And we've got Kyle Trajusiak. We've got Ronald Figura, who is a fantastic piano player. Another fantastic piano player we have, Radio Tuck Frumpet. That is my good friend Keith. And we have John Hawk as well. And we have Bops NY. That would be my good friend Dave. And we've got Bobby Booth, who is probably my oldest supporter, not in terms of age, but in terms of having been around what I do. He has been here since the start, which is very, very cool. And we have Juan Ignacio Weissman as well. And we got Dwayne as well, who has asked a question, which is great. We'll get to that in just a wee minute. And we have Paparaptor Music. We have Shorty Beard, who is a very cool guy, who I've only just got to know, really, but he is a very cool guy from what I can gather. And who else do we have? I want to make sure I don't miss people here. You guys are chatting away. We've got Peter Brooks as well, which is awesome. Hello, Peter. Good to see you. And we've got Just Bob here as well, who says he's stopping in to hit the like button because I guess you're working, Bob. You're a dude. Thank you. Glad you've stopped by, and I'm sure you'll check out the replay, which is awesome. Let's go and see who else we have got. I think I've reached the end here, which is cool. All right, so let's get to those questions. Yeah, Bobby says 64 is older than you. Yes, you are definitely older than me. You are certainly more senior than I, but what I meant was in terms of being around what I do. You are definitely one of my longest standing supporters, and I thank you very much for all of your support, Bobby. Because I know some of my content doesn't directly apply to you, but you are here anyway. Like Songwriting Simplified is not really your alley, but you are here anyway, which is great, and I'm very glad of your attendance at everything I do. All right, let's go and try and locate those questions. We'll get to Dwayne's question about mid-size setup in just a wee minute. Juan Ignacio says, my question is how to set the color toolbar to include the icons in Studio One 6, and also I need to set a blank page, no names, no nothing, to do a custom job. I tried the video suggestions, but ... and it doesn't really complete the question, but that's okay. The color toolbar is a third-party thing that was created by a good friend of mine who is actually a Presonus employee, but the product is not affiliated with Presonus whatsoever. He made this on his own, and then basically Truckee Krieger and Jeff Pettit basically manage that product, and they look after updating it and basically getting it out there. And it's actually incredibly popular, actually. So that would really be a question for either Truckee or Jeff. seeing as those guys actually do quite a bit of the back end work, updating it and that kind of thing. So they would know best how it works in Studio One 6. I don't have the color toolbar. It's not really something that bothers me too terribly much. I know a lot of you out there are very passionate about wanting to see the color palette expanded for Studio One, and the color toolbar is kind of an answer of sorts to that missing set of features, I guess, in Studio One. And who knows, one day maybe there will be a whole bunch more colors for Studio One natively, but so far we have the color toolbar that does a pretty darn good job, and it's not just extra colors, it's also a really good utility for being able to automatically color certain tracks according to certain track names, and basically designing a color scheming a color scheme and a convention for what you want to do. So, you know, maybe you like your drums to be green and your vocals to be yellow, and so on and so forth. You can set all of that up in the color toolbar. It's just not something that really particularly bothers me, and there's a very good reason for that. Is I'm 100% colorblind. I see no color, so colors don't really bother me that much. I'm not that tremendously interested in them, but I know a lot of you are, and so that's cool. So yeah, definitely check out the color toolbar if you have not done so already. There are links to it in the PreSonus Studio One Facebook group, and there is a dedicated website for it as well. The website URL escapes my memory just now, but it is well worth checking out. So that answers that one. And by the way, if you want to ask a question to me, please make sure you start your question with @Jonny Lipsham Studios. And what that does is that highlights my name in red. You don't get to see that, but it highlights my name in red. And it means I can just pick out questions very, very quickly at a glance and separate them from all the other just general chit chat, which I love you guys doing. I don't want to stop you guys getting involved in conversations and getting to know each other. But yeah, it really helps me out if you do that. Dwayne has done it, so make sure you please do that. It just so happened I was able to eyeball Juan's question quite quickly in this particular occasion. But generally speaking, it's much more helpful if you have the @Jonny Lipsham Studios at the start. But yes, if you have a Studio One question, get it in the chat now, and I will get to it for sure in tonight's show. All right, so let's look at Dwayne's question. He says, setting up mid-side requires a mono track to stereo conversion. That is a great question. Mid-side is not something I do particularly. It's just, you know, it's just not something I've ever needed to get involved with. I know there's a lot of audio engineers that do it as just de facto. It's what they do in their workflow. It's not really something I do, particularly because of the music that I work in does not really require it. However, the splitter tool and the mix tool, combination of those two items, will get you to where you want to go with splitting the mids and the sides, so you can process the sides and you can process the mids. Joe Gilder, my colleague at PreSonus, has a fantastic video on how to set up for mid-side processing, and that video is on the PreSonus YouTube channel. This channel is affiliated to and linked to the PreSonus YouTube channel, so please do go check out Joe's video on that, is what I would recommend. I know that doesn't really directly answer your question, but when I can't actually answer a question, I like to steer people to resources that are really going to help you get the best answer to your question. And really, to be honest, I think that probably is the best answer to your question, is go check out Joe's video on mid-side processing. I believe also that Gregor, my other colleague at PreSonus, has done a video on mid-side processing as well. So you can do a search for mid-side on the PreSonus YouTube channel, and all related videos will pop up. And I think there are a selection of them, and you can just watch them at your leisure. And hopefully they will get you started. So I know that that's kind of a bit of a little bit ducking the question, but it's as good as I can do. And you know, I like to be honest with you guys. If I don't know the answer, I will point you in the direction of somebody that does know the answer. Because I am not the fount of all knowledge and all wisdom, particularly when it comes to Studio One. There are other users and there are other great educators of Studio One who actually have experience in other things in Studio One that I don't. And they use Studio One in different ways than I do. So they're going to be the best bet, by and largely. All right, so I hope that helps. I really do hope that helps. All right, let's go down and see what else we have. Mike says, I reached out to Truckee to see if I can connect him with Juan. Cool, awesome. I still use the one that came with Personas. Cool, okay, let's see. And Kyle has found the link to the color toolbar, which is s1scripts.wixsite.com/color toolbar. Go check that out. Okay, Mike Johnson has a question. In fact, we're getting a few questions now, which is great. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. Mike says, due to a recent challenge, can you tell a little bit about how a bassoon should or could be played over a synth bass and strings as a lead melody? Bassoon is a beautiful instrument, and certainly it could be used for a melody. And there are some great examples in orchestral music where you will find bassoon concertos. So they are definitely worth checking out. So you can hear examples of how, with orchestration, you can make space for the bassoon as a lead instrument, because the bassoon is a bass instrument fundamentally. So you have to be careful about how you make space for it in your music, so that it's not fighting with the basses all the time. It's like when you have somebody who is a bass baritone vocalist, they are going to occupy quite a bit of low frequencies, and the skill is going to be in making space for the vocal to poke through and not fight with the bass. I know, there have been some very successful bass baritone vocalists who have really, really rich, deep, low voices, Barry White springs to mind, and the real skill of mixing for him is making sure that the bass and his voice don't conflict. And you can do that with a little bit of sidechain compression, but you can also do it with EQ as well. But fundamentally, the best place to do it is with orchestration. Now, I know that you want to keep some low end in your piece, and you want to keep, that nice balance between low, mids, and highs in your song overall, but you want the bassoon to take the melody line. Now, you can write for the upper register of the bassoon. So it'd be worth checking out what the actual range of a bassoon is. And there are plenty of charts out there that will help you work out what the written and playable range of a bassoon is. And you can use the upper register of the bassoon for melody, so that it's not always down in its lowest octave. Although sometimes you might want to, occasionally drop down into that low octave for the bassoon. And then, but otherwise have most of the melody in the upper octave of the bassoon. It does sound nice up there. It doesn't sound shrill like you might think, because I know that, there are other woodwind instruments where if you play in that upper octave quite a bit, it sounds quite shrill and a little bit harsh. I'm thinking clarinet in particular. If you play the clarinet right in its very upper register, it tends to squeal a wee bit, and it's not very pleasant when it's played up there. Unless it is played by somebody who has a tremendous amount of skill and control over their tone in that upper register. Then it can sound pretty good and pretty clean. But for the most part, it just sounds a little bit shrill. Bassoon doesn't quite have that kind of trouble. So if you're looking for a virtual bassoon, then I would definitely be recommending that you look at some of the really high quality orchestral libraries and see if you can find a solo bassoon. And if you do find a solo bassoon, then it's obviously going to be performed by a really, really good player. And so you'll find that those upper note samples should be really good and really clean. And then it is just a case of a combination of using some reverb to duck everything else behind, to tuck everything else behind a little bit, and have the bassoon quite dry, not too much reverb. Maybe use a little bit of compression to duck the reverb so that, when the bassoon is being played, it's quite dry sounding, but when it's not being played, you allow the tail to come through. So it still has a sense of presence. And then a little bit of sidechain compression so that when the bassoon is playing, everything, your whole mix just gets tapped down by maybe a dB or two, so that it has that, it's, up front. And then shape it with some EQ. Do a little bit of complementary EQ between the bassoon and the bass, so that, that kind of low mid area of the bass and the bassoon are not conflicting. So, you can maybe do a little cut, a little notch filter for the bass, and then maybe a little bit of a boost for the bassoon in the same kind of frequency area. Things like that, techniques like that will help make that bassoon pop through from a mixing point of view, but certainly the best place to really start is the orchestration. Try and keep the bass and the bassoon kind of out of each other's way in terms of range and register. So if the baritone is going to go down into its boots, maybe have the bass go above it. And then you're just going to use some automation to make sure that the bassoon is the focus and not the bass when the bass goes higher. So those are some suggestions and that I would come up with. And to back that up, Rich has some great ones. He says, pick the right notes, alternate them if needed to create rhythm. Bassoon can go up to E5, so you can place it depending upon the style. There you go. So yeah, good range. And there is, in the BBC SO, I think there's a good bassoon that you can try out. That's a good question. I like it. Ronald Figueroa says, so are custom plugin presets saved when the song is saved? Will restoring song backups reload customized presets? Yes, they should. Yeah, they absolutely should, is the answer to that. But they're not just saved on a song on a song basis. If you're using track presets, they are stored in the browser in the track presets section of your effects tab. If you're using track presets with effects or track presets with instruments, you'll find them at the top of the instrument tabs of the browser. And that way you can use those same presets over and over again in different songs. But yeah, anytime you load up a song that has been saved and you've used track presets, those should all be recalled. So yeah, go check that out. Dave says, I like mid-side or mellow vocals. Yeah, like I said, mid-side's not really a thing that I do. What is music concrete, says Just Bob, and why would you use it and when? Music concrete is a compositional thing. And it's been a long time since I've really talked about it, so I'm going to find just a little bit of information on this. Music. And we'll look at this one together because it's a little bit interesting. So it's basically French experimental music developed in the late 1940s. And I had to quickly look this up because not something I really am 100% familiar with. But we'll look at this article together. Let's just go manage settings because I don't want all my cookies. There we go, we just do that. All right, let's look at this together. So here's an article from the Britannica.com. I don't want to do that. art/music concrete, French, concrete music, experimental technique of musical composition using recorded sounds as raw material. The technique was developed in 1948 by French composer Pierre Schaeffer and his associates at the Studio d'Essai, experimental studio of the French radio system. Fundamental principle of music concrete lies in the assemblage of various natural sounds recorded on tape or originally on discs to produce a montage of sound. During the preparation of such a composition, the sounds selected and recorded may be modified in any way desired, so they could be played backwards, cut short or extended, subjected to echo chamber effects, variations in pitch and intensity. Finished composition thus represents a combination of varied auditory experiences into an artistic unity. Wow. Precursor to the use of electronically generated sound, Music Concrete was among the earliest uses of electronic means to extend the composer's sound resources. So Pierre Boulez was a real experimenter. He's another French composer. And he was a real experimenter with electronic elements and bringing those into traditional orchestral music as well. The experimental use of machinery in Music Concrete, the random use of ingredients, and the absence of traditional composer-performance roles characterized technique as a pioneering effort that led to further developments in electronic and computer music research. In music, compositions in Music Concrete include Symphony pour un Sol, Symphony for One Man, 1950, by Schaeffer and Pierre Henry, and Desert in 1954 for tape and instruments, and Poème Electronique performed by 400 loudspeakers at the 1958 Brussels World Fair by French composer Edgar Varese. I love Varese's music, by the way. But yeah, it's basically a music making experience where what you do is you use raw sounds. So they could be environmental sounds. They could be, like maybe you just capture the rhythm of your washing machine in its regular cycle. It's not got to the spin cycle yet, but it's still in the regular wash phase. And maybe you just like that particular rhythm. You record that particular rhythm and you load that as a sample, and then you can just repeat it and use that as an ostinato. Or, you can play it forward, you can reverse it, you can, do some sound design on it to, make it huge, massive. You can have it going through a phaser, going through an auto panner, so it's swapping from left to right all the time. And then you can add all sorts of other sounds to it as well. Maybe, that you find the sound of a particular car engine that's idling, and it just idles at a particular pitch. Well, you can sample that particular pitch and you can use that. Or maybe the tappets of the engine have a particular rhythm that you like. Again, you can use those as counter rhythms to the rhythm of the washing machine, and so on and so forth. Now, to tie this into a challenge that I have that's still kind of a bit open-ended, I haven't actually got an ending for this particular challenge. There is a Foley challenge that I have put out to everybody. And that is to compose a piece of music that's 90 seconds long, that has a clear start, so, clear beginning, middle, and end. It's a clear piece of composition. And basically, the rule is that you're only allowed to use household sounds to create your piece of music. It can be unpitched, so therefore you're just using the rhythms of those sounds, or you can, do some sound design to turn some of those indeterminate pitch instruments into pitched instruments. For example, this beer glass, sample that, get that into sample one, and then map that across the keyboard and play it, and use that as a melodic or harmonic aspect of your composition. And in Personasphere, there is a workspace that I have set up for that with the help of Rich Cresswell. And essentially what there's a whole library of sounds that people have submitted. And you can submit your own sounds as well. But you can also use all of the sounds that are in this little library to create your piece of music. And then once you've finished your piece of music, upload it to the workspace. At the moment, there is only one piece of music, and that's by Rich. So I would love to see a few more pieces of music. And once we've got a few more pieces of music, what we will do is we will then we'll set aside a Songwriting Simplified show, and we will play your pieces. There's no prize for this challenge. It's just a challenge. It's just a composing challenge to get you guys being creative, to get me being creative, with a whole bunch of you know, natural sounds. And I suppose this is music concrete, and it can be a really interesting art form to make music with. So if you're interested in that and you want to be added to that Personasphere workspace, drop me an email. Go to the website down there, jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk. Go there. There's a contact form there. So if you just hit contact us, fill out that form, give me your email address that you use to log into mypersonas.com. Don't give me your password. I do not need your password. I just need your email address. And what I will do is I will then send you an invitation to join the workspace. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to be a member of Personasphere to take part in this. Personasphere is just a platform, but you don't have to be a member. Okay? If you're not a member, it's cool. All you need is a My Personas account. If you have a My Personas account, if you use Studio One, or if you have Personas hardware, you have a My Personas account. So just send me that email address that you'll use to log in to that account. I will send you an invitation, and you can still be added to that workspace, even if you're not a member of Personasphere. And you can still upload your content. You can upload your piece of music. You can download all of the sounds. You can do whatever you like with the piece. And it'd be great to have a whole selection of your pieces of music, and then we can set aside a whole Songwriting Simplified show to listen to our pieces of music. It would be great if we could do that. So if you're interested in that, like I said, drop me an email. We've got quite a few people in that workspace now. If I actually just go over to the workspace, and I will show you what it looks like. Because I think that would be helpful rather than just talking abstractly about it. All right, here it is. Here's the workspace. And we've got a nice Henry vacuum cleaner. Because you can use a vacuum cleaner to create sounds. And this is what it looks like. And these are all the people. And we've got a few people here. As you can see, I have sent out invitations to Kelly Winters and this person here. And they are listed as pending, so you need to respond to those, please. And then once you've responded, you will be able to join in. Just Bob says, I checked for the acceptance in Sphere. I didn't see it. Is this you, Bob? I think this is you. That being the case, you need to make sure you accept it. I can resend the invite just in case. And the invite has been resent. And I'm going to do the same for Kelly as well, because he may have missed it. So check your emails that you use for mypersonas.com, because that's the email that invite is going to. It's not going to go to any other email address. It's just going to go to this one. So Bob, if that's your email address, that invite has been sent to that email address. Once you're accepted, you will go here, and Rich has listed the workspace there. And it's cool. So as you can see, there's quite a few people here already. We got Billy Morgan here. We got James Giannoni. We got Louis. We got Tony. We got Dr. John is here. Don Oliver. We've got Sean Aaron. We've got Ronald. We've got me, Kelly. We've got Keith Chadwick. And there's my work account, and there's my other account. And then what you get in here is you get a folder of samples. And there's absolutely loads of those, as you can see. And then if I go back to, and then there's songs. And as you can see, we've just got the one at the moment, Holy Moly Batman. And this is Rich's piece done a wee while ago. And then Rich has made a video here. A little tip to help you with the sounds already on here. So check that video out first before you get started making your song. All right. I hope that helps everybody. All right. There we go. All right. Sorry. Somebody sent me a message, and I just wanted to make sure it wasn't anything urgent, which it isn't. All right. So yes, Just Bob says, sounds like your sound challenge. Exactly. Kevin's Guitar Stories is here. He says he's watching Yellowstone. Yellowstone is awesome. I've actually been watching that myself and really enjoying it. It's really good. Really good series. I recommend it. Rich says, Dave Fanshawe, a very well-known samplist of world cultures and regions, also dipped into this genre whilst he was alive. Yes, I have heard that too. I don't really know much about his music, but I've certainly heard that to be the case. Billy, that's funny. Why does it have to be a beginning? That's just too funny. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's funny. Rich also says Music Concrete also led to the genre known simply as noise in Japan. I have heard a little bit about noise in Japan, actually. I don't know tons about it. John Lake says, I use beer glasses all the time, but I get drunk driving. That's funny. That is funny as well. Rich says, I did the video whilst I had COVID and made the song, so you have no excuses. Exactly right. Nobody has excuses. You spent too much time in the vacuum. My God. Mike, that's just very, very funny. All right, so we have about 20 minutes left of the show. So if you guys have still got questions, let's get them in there. I would appreciate that if you have more questions. We got about 23 or so people in here right now, which is awesome. Thank you, everybody, for coming along. Please, if you have not hit that like button, hit that like button. If you are not subscribed yet and you're just kind of watching, but you would like to get more involved and you'd like to contribute and ask questions in the chat is strictly for subscribers only, for very good reason, because a while back we had some unsavory people making some rather unsavory links and things like that, or attempting to, in the chat, and so I set it to subscribers only. So you need to be a subscriber. That doesn't mean if you're going to make unsavory content, I'm not going to ban you, because I will. But please do subscribe to the channel, and then you will be able to get into that. Just Bob says, yes, that was me. Info has a typo. Needs corrected. Oh, right. Okay, just send me your corrected email address, and then I will send you a fresh invite to that email address that you used to log into My Personas, okay? And we'll get you involved, for sure. Want to be a member, yes, absolutely. So yeah, if you want to get involved in the Foley music making challenge, it's open-ended at the moment, mostly because we haven't really had any other submissions of completed pieces apart from Rich's, and I would really like to get your completed pieces. Yeah, please do get involved. Those of you that are already in the challenge and you haven't completed a piece of music, get to it. Get downloading those libraries of sounds, and I'm speaking to me as well because I haven't done mine yet. So download those sounds and get to work. It only has to be 90 seconds long. It's not a massive piece of music. And you don't even have to do a massive, incredibly detailed mix of it. Just balance the faders, do some panning, add a splash of reverb. It's fine. Because, I'm more interested in the compositional work you do and less interested in the mix. The mix is secondary. The compositional side of it is kind of the challenge, really. Okay, so don't worry about, how professional your mix sounds. Not interested. I am interested in the piece you compose. Okay? That's the challenge. All right. That's funny. Rich says, watch the video. You'll be making music with vacuum cleaners before you know it. Yes, I would love it if somebody would write a vacuum cleaner concerto. That would be awesome. A vacuum cleaner concerto would be fantastic. I think I tried something similar maybe about 25 years ago, back when I was at university. Some friends of mine, we were housemates. I'll tell this story because it's fun. We were housemates. We're all musicians, and we were all housemates, and we had come from various different houses, so we had our own vacuum cleaners. And so there were 5 of us in this house. So we each had our own vacuum cleaner. But here's the cool thing. We all realized that our vacuum cleaners made very specific pitches when you switched them on. And what we found was that these pitches went together really, really well. They played a chord. And one night we just decided just to improvise a piece of music using these 5 Hoovers and a couple of acoustic guitars. We didn't record it. We were just jamming. We were just improvising. We had, and so basically we would just switch them on and off and just see randomly what kind of harmonies would be created by these 5 vacuum cleaners. It was so funny. And then we discovered that if you put your hand over where the air passes through the pipe, there's like a little hole. You can change the pitch. So we did that, and you can only change the pitch by 1 note. So that basically extended the harmony to 2 different chords. One was really a little bit discordant, and the other one was a little bit more concordant. But it made for a really interesting piece of music, minimalist music, and it was great fun. Mike says, launching an after show Zoom when you're done. Awesome. That'd be cool, because I have not touched my cup of tea once in this show. And I normally do, at least once, but I haven't. Rich says, I actually believe that if you watch the video, you'll fully understand how you can make your own synths from literally nothing. Yes, I have watched Rich's video, and it's actually phenomenal what he has done. And given that the guy had COVID whilst he made that video, it was really, really good. And it really does show that you can make a whole synth out of just any sound. Really, really clever. Very, very good. So I definitely recommend that you check that out. All right, we got 15 minutes left. Do we have any more questions? Peter Brooks says, I want to thank you all for making me feel normal. Yes, the fact that we're talking about vacuum cleaner music, and we're talking actually seriously about vacuum cleaner music, definitely normalizes just about anybody, I think. But yes, I would love somebody to make a 90-second vacuum cleaner concerto. That would be awesome. Maybe I should do it. I don't know. I don't want to step on anyone else's toes. If somebody else just feels totally inspired to make a vacuum cleaner concerto, then definitely go ahead and do it. I would love to hear it, and I would love to feature it on a Songwriting Simplified show with all the other awesome works that you guys are going to do. And then once we've done that, I have other challenges for 2023, which are going to be just as much ludicrous fun and just as much off the wall. So if you are up for completely bonkers, off the wall musical challenges to really inspire your creativity, this is the year of that kind of thing. We're going to do that this year. I know we're already into February and we're heading on into March, and the crocuses and daffodils have started coming through, which makes everybody feel better. So everybody now should start to be inspired by all of those spring colors starting to come out. For those of you that can see color, I'm sure it will inspire the socks off you. So there's a whole bunch of challenges, and I'm working with my good friend Mike Johnson, who probably only just knows about this, but I'm going to be working with Mike, and I'm going to be working with Rich as well to develop some other challenges that will be hilarious fun for sure. And that's what I want to do with Sunday Night Live and Songwriting Simplified, is just make the shows loads of fun for you guys to be actively involved in, not just watching on a Wednesday night and a Sunday night, but actively involved with. So again, Wednesdays for Songwriting Simplified, get your songwriting questions, your arranging questions, your composing questions, music production questions, music theory questions, get them into that show on a Wednesday night. Sundays, Studio One questions. We'll talk about music production from just purely the Studio One side of things there. But, you know, I am also open to a range of other questions, but I want to try and keep Sundays to working with Studio One and helping you answer your questions on how to use Studio One, how to improve how you use Studio One, and take your work, your music production work and your composing and your songwriting work in Studio One to the next level. That's my plan. That's my big overarching vision for this channel going forward. So if you guys are up for being involved in that, then that would be cool. All right, Rich says, play a bit of the song I made with Foley sounds to demo what can be done. It's basic, but it might help. Okay, I can do that. Let me go back to the workspace songs. All right, this is Rich's piece. Hopefully this will play. All right, there you go. That's what can be done with household sounds. There is nothing there that was not created from household objects and using just the stock native effects in Studio One. I believe Rich did this in Studio One 5, so now we're in Studio One 6. You've got the vocoder as well. So you can use the vocoder to do some wild, wicked, creative sound design on your household sounds. That should be freaking awesome. I can't wait to see what other works you guys come up with. And of course, as Kyle correctly observes, no bathroom or bodily sounds, so I will allow you to use running taps, dripping taps. A toilet flush is allowed. Fart sounds, yeah, maybe not quite so allowed. Burp sounds, maybe not quite so allowed. But certainly, you know, I will allow things like very rhythmic toothbrushing. That's okay. But yeah, light switches, doors closing, using your slamming your fridge door closed to create a kick drum sound. You can use that. You know, the little ping on your microwave when your microwave is finished, you can sample that. You can use your kettle. You can use I don't know, kitchen knives and forks or something like that, and use your sink, your wash basin in the kitchen to create drum parts. Whatever you have available in your house, those are all legit. Cigarette lighters for hi-hat sounds, those are all legit. Totally. And you can use your vacuum cleaner. If it makes a great tone, sample it. Get it into sample 1. Map it across the keyboard and use that as a melody line. Totally. All of those are totally legit. So go do it. Go get to it. And we don't have any more questions, I don't think. Can pets be considered household sounds? Yeah, I will allow the sound of pets. I will allow the sound of pets. They are kind of household sounds. But what I'm tending to mean is items that are in your house that are not necessarily animate items. So, but I will allow the sound of a pet. So if your dog makes a particular bark sound that you would like to feature and do something creative with, maybe turn that bark into a snare drum sound, go for it. Whatever you want to do. Okay, Bob's gonna send me the correct info after the show. Great. Once I've got that corrected email address, I will send you the invite, and I'll get rid of the other one from the workspace. All right, folks, we will call it there because I don't see any more questions unless I've missed one. There are some great suggestions here for other challenges. One has got a good suggestion for composing on a different instrument than normal and in a different time signature than you would normally work in. So maybe instead of 4/4, maybe do something in 6/8, maybe do something in 9/8, maybe do something in 7/8, something that's a little bit off kilter. Can certainly be tried. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. All right, so we will call it there, actually. We will call it there. We'll call it there a few minutes early today because I'm not really seeing any other questions. And we currently have about 20 people in here, just about. So yeah, if you are interested in joining myself and Billy and Mike over on the after show party on Zoom, please hit that link that Mike has posted in the chat and I'll see everybody over there. I'm not going to stay tremendously late because I have had a very busy, very long day today. And I'm a bit done, to be honest. I got home this afternoon and I had to go lie down. So I went and slept for about 3 hours this afternoon. So I'm pretty wasted, to be honest. All right, folks, we'll call it there. Thank you very, very much for all of your great questions. It's been another fantastic Sunday Night Live. And I'll see you on Wednesday back here for Songwriting Simplified. Remember, songwriting questions, arranging, composing, all of those kind of related questions, and music theory and all of that we will take on that show. So be thinking about what you might want to ask, and then you can get them in the chat on the night. All right, folks, until then, I'll see you on Wednesday. Good night.